A man walks into a room. He doesn't rush. He doesn't try to fill the air. He doesn't smile too much, nor does he hide behind a mask of false seriousness. He simply walks. His posture is straight. His steps are steady. His eyes see everything without searching for approval. People notice him before he even speaks. There is no performance, no attempt to dominate the space. Yet the space adjusts to his presence. He is not loud. He does not announce his achievements. He is not here to convince anyone that he is worth listening to. He carries his worth like a hidden fire, not visible at first glance, but strong enough to be felt. It's in the way he stands, in the way he moves, in the way he doesn't need to be seen to know who he is. There is a rare power in a presence that doesn't demand attention, yet receives it naturally. People are drawn to it because it feels different from the noise they are used to. The world is filled with voices shouting for validation, desperate to be recognized. But when someone arrives who doesn't need to be recognized, that's when people truly pay attention. Silence, in the right hands, is not emptiness. It is proof without explanation. It is confidence without arrogance. It is the quiet certainty of someone who has built themselves from the inside out. The voiceover comes in, calm but with weight. The most powerful statement you can make is silence backed by proof. What is proof? It is not a speech. It is not a title. It is not the story you tell about yourself. Proof is the trail of evidence you leave in the world through your actions, your discipline, your results. Proof is the body you've strengthened, the skill you've mastered, the work you've completed without applause. Proof is the way you treat people when no one is watching. You cannot fake that kind of proof. It is either there or it is not. It does not depend on whether you talk about it. In fact, the less you talk, the more it grows in strength. Because the truth does not need a sales pitch. The man in the room understands this. He does not introduce himself with a list of accomplishments. He does not rehearse lines to make himself seem impressive. He knows that if he must convince people of his value, he is already losing the battle. Instead, he lets his presence carry the weight of his work. He knows that the right people will see it, and the wrong people do not matter. Value is not something you shout. It is something you live. When you live it long enough, when your discipline is carved into your very being, you will not need to speak about it. People will see it in your eyes, in your manner, in the way you move through life. But this kind of presence is not built in a day. It is the result of years of small choices, showing up when it was hard, keeping promises to yourself when no one else would know if you broke them, doing the work when there was no guarantee of reward. It is forged in solitude, in discipline, in moments when you could have chosen the easy way but didn't. Most people think that being noticed requires talking more, posting more, showing more. But the truth is, when you are grounded in your own worth, you don't need to chase attention. You become like gravity. People feel your pull without understanding why. They are drawn to the substance you've built, even if they cannot describe it. This is why silence is powerful. Silence leaves room for people to feel you. Silence forces them to look beyond the noise and see the reality of who you are. And if you've done the work, what they see will speak louder than any words could. Imagine a soldier returning from battle. He doesn't tell long stories. He doesn't need to. The wear on his armor, the calm in his voice, the depth in his eyes, all of it speaks for him. The silence is not emptiness. It is the weight of experience that cannot be expressed through words alone. In the same way, your silent presence is built by what you've endured and conquered. Every early morning you pushed through, every temptation you overcame, every failure you studied until it became a lesson. These moments leave marks on you, invisible to the untrained eye, but clear to those who recognize them. To demonstrate value without words, you must first stop chasing the need to be understood by everyone. You will not be understood by everyone, and that's the point. Your energy is not meant to be spent proving yourself to those who are not looking for the truth. Your energy is meant to be spent building, living, and becoming the kind of person whose actions stand as their introduction. People who announce their greatness too loudly are often trying to hide the fact that there is little behind the curtain. But when you have built something real, you don't need to shout. You can stand quietly, and the reality will be obvious to anyone who matters. This is the heart of the message. Value is demonstrated, not announced. And when you truly have it, you will have no need to say it. You will walk into the room, and without a word, people will feel that you are someone who has done the work, someone who can be trusted, Someone who does not need to prove their worth, because it radiates naturally. In a world addicted to noise, be the quiet that makes people stop and listen. In a culture that rewards self-promotion, choose self-mastery. Because when your silence is backed by proof, it becomes louder than any voice in the room. This is not arrogance. This is not superiority. It is simply the natural confidence of knowing that you have done the work and built yourself into someone of value, not for applause, but for your own standard. And when you live this way, you will notice something. The people worth knowing will come to you. The opportunities worth taking will find you. Not because you chased them, but because you stood still in your own strength and they recognized it. So remember this. You don't need to convince. You don't need to perform. You don't need to fill the air with proof of who you are. If it is real, it will speak for itself. And in that silence, you will have more power than the loudest voice in the room. The man walks further into the room, still without a word. A few people glance at him, curious. Others nod subtly in acknowledgement. He doesn't notice, or maybe he does, but it doesn't change him. He moves with the same steady pace, the same calm energy, the same quiet strength. Because his worth does not depend on their recognition. It was already decided long before he entered the room. And that is the lesson. Build yourself so well that your silence becomes a statement, your presence becomes a message, and your value becomes undeniable, without you having to say a single word. Words are easy. They are light, effortless, and often cheap. Anyone can say they are disciplined. Anyone can say they are honest. Anyone can claim they are strong, reliable, or determined. But when the moment comes to prove it, most fall silent. Not because they have nothing to say, but because their actions don't match their words. This is why actions matter more than words. Words fade. They dissolve in the air as soon as they are spoken. They can be twisted, exaggerated, or forgotten. But actions leave marks. They etch themselves into the memory of others. They write your true story without needing permission. When you show up early every day to work on your craft, no one needs to hear your speech about commitment. They can see it. When you stay calm in the middle of chaos, you don't have to declare yourself a leader. Your composure declares it for you. When you lend a hand without being asked, without expecting recognition, you don't have to convince people you care. Your help proves it. True value lives in the consistency of your actions. A single word can be a lie, but repeated action is proof. A man who says he will rise at dawn every morning to train can still stay in bed. But the man who rises, day after day, rain or shine, without telling anyone, builds a truth that cannot be denied. Think about those who inspire you most. They are rarely the ones who talk endlessly about their principles. They are the ones who live them. A mentor who works harder than anyone else. A friend who shows up every time without fail. A stranger who quietly steps in to help when others turn away. You don't admire them because of what they say. You admire them because of what they do. The real test of character happens when no one is watching. You can speak noble words in front of an audience, but when you're alone, only your actions remain. If you take shortcuts, break promises, or abandon your standards when unseen, your words become nothing more than decoration. Empty signs pointing to a place that does not exist. And yet, in our world, many still believe that words are enough. They make promises they never intend to keep. They talk about big dreams they never plan to chase. They hide behind explanations and excuses instead of showing results. But you cannot talk your way into being respected by the right people. The right people watch what you do, not what you say. Actions have a strange power. They are remembered longer than words, and they are believed even without explanation. You might forget the speech someone gave years ago, but you will remember how they helped you when you were in trouble. You might forget the promises a leader made, but you will remember whether they stood firm when the pressure came. Working hard is one of the clearest ways to let your actions speak. It doesn't matter if others notice every hour you put in. The real value of hard work is not in the praise it earns, but in the person it shapes you into. When you work relentlessly, even in the quiet, you build a foundation that no one can take away from you. You become prepared, capable, and ready for the opportunities that others waste time talking about. Helping others without asking for credit is another form of silent proof. In a world where kindness is often used as a performance, genuine help shines brighter. You don't need to broadcast every good deed. The people you help will remember, and those who witness it will respect it far more than if you had announced it. True generosity is a force that moves quietly but deeply. And then there is staying composed under pressure, perhaps one of the rarest and most telling actions. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. But when chaos strikes, fear spreads, and tempers flare, the person who keeps their focus shows their true worth. That calm is not an accident. It is the product of self-control, discipline, and preparation. It tells people that you are someone they can trust when it matters most. The world is full of noise, arguments, boasts, empty declarations. But when your actions align with your words, the noise fades around you. People stop listening to the talkers and start watching the doers. It is not about never speaking. It is about ensuring that when you do speak, your words are backed by a history of action that makes them impossible to doubt. Imagine two men. One talks constantly about becoming fit, about how discipline is the key, about how he will start training tomorrow. The other says nothing. He wakes up early, trains every day, eats with discipline, and keeps his routine. 6 months later, one is still talking. The other has transformed. Which one do you believe? This is the quiet power of action. It creates undeniable evidence. You don't need to argue your worth. You don't need to defend yourself against doubt. You simply keep doing the work, and in time, the results speak louder than you ever could. But this takes patience. Actions build slowly. Words can be crafted in seconds, but real achievement takes time. That's why so few commit to living this way. They want instant recognition. They want to be believed without proving themselves. But there is no shortcut to lasting respect. You have to live it, daily, without the constant need for validation. Some will never acknowledge your actions. They may even try to dismiss them. That doesn't matter. Your actions are not for their approval. They are for your own standard. You live up to them because you refuse to accept less from yourself. The reward is not the applause. The reward is becoming the person you promised yourself you would be. Over time, your actions become your reputation. Not the stories you tell, not the image you project, the trail of reality you've left behind. People will remember the deadlines you met, the discipline you showed, the challenges you overcame. They will remember the way you carried yourself when things went wrong. They will remember the fact that you didn't just talk about being strong. You were strong. Even in relationships, actions speak louder than any declaration of love or loyalty. You can tell someone you care about them 100 times, but if you never show up when they need you, your words are hollow. Likewise, you can say you respect someone, but if your behavior says otherwise, they will believe your behavior. The power of actions is that they are always honest. You can lie with words, but actions reveal your true priorities. If you say you want to improve but never put in the effort, your actions tell the truth. You don't want it enough. If you claim to be reliable but fail to follow through, your actions expose the reality. So the challenge is this: speak less, do more. If you say you'll be there, be there. If you set a goal, work on it until it's done. If you believe in a principle, live by it when it's hard, not just when it's easy. Let your actions create a track record so strong that you no longer need to convince anyone of who you are. In the end, words will always be weaker than actions. Words can inspire for a moment, but actions inspire for a lifetime. Words can be forgotten, but actions are remembered in stories, in gratitude, and in the quiet respect of those who saw what you did. Live in such a way that even if you lost your voice forever, people would still know exactly what you stand for. That is the power of actions over words. It is the mark of a life built on truth, discipline, and integrity, and it will speak for you long after you are gone. Mastery does not need to announce itself. It does not shout, it does not beg for attention, and it does not explain. It simply exists, visible to anyone who has the eyes to see. When someone witnesses true mastery, they feel it before they even understand it. They see the precision, the control, the confidence in every movement. No words are necessary. A craftsman at work is the perfect image of this truth. He does not pause to explain every step of his process. He does not interrupt himself to tell you how skilled he is. He is absorbed, fully present in the task. His hands move with a rhythm built from years of repetition. Every gesture is purposeful, no energy wasted. You can tell, just by watching, that this is not a beginner. This is someone who has devoted time, patience, and effort to refining their skill until it became a part of them. That is the beauty of mastery. it becomes silent. In the early stages, when you are learning something new, you may feel the urge to tell people about every small improvement. You want them to know you are trying. But as you grow, that need fades. You no longer need recognition at every step, because you are building something bigger, the ability to let your work speak on your behalf. True skill cannot be faked. You can pretend to know something for a while. You can talk your way into opportunities, but sooner or later, the truth shows itself. A master doesn't have to tell you they are a master. The evidence is in the result. The musician who plays a single note with such depth that it says more than 1,000 words. The athlete whose movements are so fluid they seem inevitable. The chef who creates a dish so perfectly balanced that you remember it for years. When you reach a certain level of ability, your work becomes your signature. People will recognize it without needing to be told it's yours. That recognition doesn't come from marketing alone. It comes from substance. You've done the hard part, the endless practice, the mistakes, the revisions, the patience to repeat the process until it is second nature. And that patience is visible in the finished product. Mastery also has a quiet confidence. It does not argue with critics or chase doubters. A skilled person does not waste time proving themselves to everyone. They simply keep producing, keep delivering, and over time, their consistency silences most arguments. This is why you should never worry about convincing people with words. The work you put out into the world will do it for you, if it is truly excellent. There's something magnetic about someone who has devoted themselves to their craft. Even if you know nothing about their field, you can feel the weight of their experience. Watching a calligrapher draw a single line, or a blacksmith shape molten metal, or a surgeon move with precision. These are moments where you realize that skill communicates across all boundaries. It doesn't matter if you share the same language. The mastery is obvious. And yet, mastery is rare precisely because it takes so much time. In an age where everyone wants quick results and instant recognition, few are willing to quietly put in the years of work that mastery demands. This is why it stands out so clearly when you encounter it. Most people stop at good enough. Masters don't. They keep refining long after others have grown tired. There is a discipline to this way of life. Mastery requires you to care more about the work than about the praise. In the early years, you will be unnoticed. You will produce work that no one sees, and your skill will grow in silence. You will resist the temptation to rush to the spotlight before you are ready, because you understand that the spotlight does not make you skilled. It only exposes your current level. When your focus is on the process, not the applause, something powerful happens. You begin to work differently. You are no longer chasing approval. You are chasing precision, depth, and understanding. You care about getting it right, not just getting it done. And as a result, you create something that lasts longer than the moment. The masters you admire did not get there by accident. They showed up every day, whether or not they felt inspired. They treated the work with respect. They studied details others ignored. They worked when no one was watching, and they kept going after most people would have stopped. This invisible grind is why mastery speaks so loudly without words. Think about the last time you encountered someone truly exceptional at what they do. Maybe it was a teacher who made a complex subject feel effortless. Maybe it was a craftsman who restored something with perfect care. Maybe it was an athlete whose performance looked like pure instinct. In each case, you probably didn't need them to explain their credentials. You could see it. You could feel it. This is the goal, to be so good at what you do that no introduction is necessary. When you walk into a room, your presence is felt because people already know what you are capable of. When your work appears, it carries your reputation with it. You don't have to tell people to pay attention. They already are. And here's the secret. The quieter your mastery, the louder its impact. There's no arrogance in it, no desperate need for validation. You let others speak about your skill if they choose to, but you don't depend on it. Your work is enough. Your results are enough. Skill is visible because it leaves no gaps. It has a completeness to it, a balance between precision and flow. You can recognize it in the way a task is approached, the way challenges are handled, the way mistakes are corrected without panic. These small signals tell the story of countless hours of unseen effort. Over time, people will come to you not because you told them to, but because they've seen the proof. They will trust you not because of your promises, but because of your track record. They will listen not because you demand it, but because your work commands it. This is the highest form of influence, influence without noise. influence born from mastery. So if you want your value to be recognized without words, you must first commit to the slow, patient work of becoming excellent. Focus on the craft. Learn the details. Make mistakes and fix them. Push through the moments when no one notices. Build the kind of skill that is impossible to ignore. One day, you won't need to explain yourself. Your mastery will walk into the room before you do. It will speak in the confidence of your work, the respect in others' eyes, and the undeniable weight of a job done to perfection. That is when you will understand the truth. Skill, real skill, is visible without you pointing to it, and it will always speak louder than anything you could say. Composure is a quiet power. It is a form of strength that does not need to be displayed aggressively, because it is felt by everyone who witnesses it. When a storm hits, whether it is in the form of conflict, chaos, or sudden change, most people react. They raise their voices. They move too quickly. They allow their emotions to spill into their decisions. But there is always one person who remains still, not frozen, but steady, not detached, but in control. That person commands respect without saying a single word. Self-control is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. It is the ability to feel anger but not be consumed by it, to feel fear but still act with reason, to feel excitement but not lose focus. Most people believe that their authority comes from what they say, but in truth, it is more often built on what they do not say. Silence, when paired with composure, becomes a statement in itself. I am not ruled by the noise around me. Think about the people you trust the most. Are they the ones who panic easily, who lash out, who let frustration dictate their words? Or are they the ones who, even in the middle of a problem, keep their voice steady and their mind clear? Calmness is magnetic. When others lose their balance, they instinctively look toward the person who is not. That is why leaders, in any context, must learn to master composure. Because in moments of uncertainty, it is stability that people follow. The truth is, composure is rare because it is hard. It is easy to speak without thinking, to react without considering, to allow the heat of the moment to dictate the next move. Composure requires discipline. The discipline to pause, to breathe, to choose your response instead of letting it choose you. This pause may last only a second, but it is the difference between escalation and resolution, between losing credibility and gaining respect. In a heated argument, composure is the one thing that cannot be faked. You can pretend to be confident, but your tone will betray tension. You can try to sound in control, but your body language will give you away. True composure comes from a deep inner steadiness, the knowledge that no matter what happens in this moment, you can face it without losing yourself. That kind of presence is unshakable. Composure is not weakness. In fact, it is the opposite. It takes far more strength to remain calm under pressure than to explode. Anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can act impulsively. But to stand in the middle of chaos and remain collected, that is rare, and people notice it. They may not comment on it in the moment, but it leaves an impression. The next time they see you, they will remember, you are not someone who breaks easily. In professional settings, composure can be the difference between being seen as a follower or as a leader. The one who reacts emotionally may win the short-term argument, but the one who stays calm wins the long-term trust. Colleagues, clients, and teams respect the person who can face a problem without panic. They see them as dependable, as someone who will not abandon reason when challenges arise. In personal relationships, composure prevents unnecessary damage. Anger may feel justified in the moment, but words spoken in anger often create wounds that are hard to repair. Composure gives you the space to respond in a way that maintains respect, both for yourself and for the other person. That does not mean avoiding conflict. It means handling it with intention so that your point is heard without being buried under emotional noise. One of the most powerful aspects of composure is that it disarms people. When someone is expecting a fight and you remain calm, it takes away their fuel. They have nothing to push against. This doesn't mean you are passive. You can still stand firm, still set boundaries, still speak your truth, but you do it from a place of control, not chaos. That difference is what makes people listen. Composure also influences how you see yourself. Every time you stay calm instead of reacting impulsively, you strengthen your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. This builds a quiet confidence that others can sense. People may not know exactly why they trust you, but they will feel that you are anchored, that you are not easily moved by pressure or provocation. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, someone yells at you unexpectedly, and you yell back. The situation escalates, and now it is no longer about the problem, but about the emotions involved. In the second scenario, someone yells at you, and you simply listen. You keep your tone measured, your words precise. You address the facts. You do not mirror their energy. By the end, the other person's anger feels out of place, and they either calm down or expose themselves as unreasonable. In both cases, the words you said might be similar, but the way you delivered them changed everything. This is why composure is a form of authority. It shifts the power in the room. The one who stays calm controls the pace of the interaction. They decide when to speak and when to stay silent. They create the space for others to either match their calm or risk looking unstable. This is influence without force. Self-control also has a ripple effect. In groups, one composed person can lower the temperature of an entire situation. Their tone, posture, and patience give others permission to breathe before reacting. Over time, they become the person everyone looks to when things get difficult, not because they demand it, but because they have proven, again and again, that they can be relied on to think clearly. Of course, composure does not mean you never feel frustration or fear. It means you know how to hold those feelings without letting them dictate your behavior. You acknowledge them privately, but you do not hand them the wheel. This is not about suppressing emotions. It is about managing them. If you bury your emotions, they will eventually break through in unhealthy ways. But if you face them and channel them into deliberate action, they become a source of strength. There will always be moments that test your composure. Someone will insult you. A situation will unravel in a way you did not expect. A deadline will be impossible to meet. In these moments, you have a choice: to be controlled by the moment or to control yourself within it. That choice determines how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Over time, practicing composure becomes a habit. The first time you stay calm in a heated situation, it might feel forced. You might have to fight the urge to react. But each time you succeed, it becomes easier. Eventually, it becomes your default response. You no longer have to remind yourself to breathe, to pause, to choose your words. It happens naturally. When you live with composure, you stop needing to prove yourself with noise. Your steadiness speaks for you. People begin to measure your worth not by how loudly you argue your point, but by how unshaken you remain when tested. That is why composure is respect. It shows that you respect yourself enough to stay in control, and that you respect others enough not to drag them into your storms. One day, you will be in a situation where everyone else is losing control. People will be shouting, rushing, making mistakes. And in that moment, without saying anything, you will become the center of the room simply by staying calm. Reputation is not created in a single moment. It is not built by one grand achievement, one public display of excellence, or one day of exceptional effort. Reputation is the sum of what you do consistently, day after day, when nobody is watching. It grows slowly, almost invisibly, like the roots of a tree deep underground. And just like a tree, once those roots are strong, they hold you steady through any storm. The truth is, anyone can impress people once. Anyone can have a good day, a moment of discipline, a burst of energy that leaves others inspired. But real trust, respect, and credibility are not won through flashes of brilliance. They are earned through quiet repetition, through showing up every day, doing the work, and refusing to let the small things slide. When people look at you and form an opinion, they are not judging you based on a single event. They are looking at the pattern you create over time. They ask themselves, is this person reliable? Do they do what they say they will do? Can they be counted on, even when things are difficult? Consistency answers those questions louder than any speech you could give. Imagine someone who goes to the gym once a month, but talks constantly about fitness. Now imagine someone else who never announces their workouts, but shows up every single morning, rain or shine, and trains. Which person would you trust to give you advice on discipline? Which one's words would carry weight? That is the difference between appearance and reality. And consistency is what makes the difference visible. Daily discipline is quiet. It is not glamorous. It does not demand applause. Waking up early, studying, practicing, training, planning, these things happen in private. They rarely come with instant rewards. In fact, most of the time, no one will notice you are doing them. And yet, every one of those invisible actions is a brick in the foundation of your reputation. Over time, those bricks stack high enough that people cannot ignore them. The most respected individuals in any field, whether it is business, art, athletics, or leadership, are those whose excellence is predictable, not occasional. Predictable. People know they will deliver because they always have. That predictability does not come from chance. It is the result of hundreds, even thousands, of small decisions made consistently over years. Consistency also has a way of protecting your reputation when you face challenges. If you have spent years showing discipline, reliability, and honesty, people will give you the benefit of the doubt if you stumble. They will assume it is an exception, not the rule. But if your actions have been inconsistent, if you only show discipline when it is convenient, then one mistake can define you, because people have no foundation of trust to fall back on. There is also a quiet authority in someone who lives consistently. They do not need to announce their habits or demand recognition. Their results speak for them. The person who studies every day does not need to prove they are knowledgeable. The depth of their understanding reveals itself naturally. The person who trains daily does not need to flex. Their strength and endurance are obvious without explanation. The person who works diligently does not need to boast about their productivity. Their track record does the talking. Consistency is also a filter. It separates those who are serious from those who are simply excited. Excitement fades. Motivation comes and goes. But discipline, the act of showing up no matter how you feel, is what builds something lasting. The truth is, most people are not consistent because it is hard. It requires doing the right thing when you are tired, when you are distracted, when no one is watching, and there is no immediate payoff. If you want to be someone whose reputation carries weight, you have to accept that most of your effort will happen in silence. You will work when others rest. You will prepare when others procrastinate. You will put in hours that no one will ever see. And yet, all of it will be seen eventually, not in the moment, but in the results you produce and the trust you earn. Consistency also changes how you see yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, to wake up on time, to complete a task, to stick to a routine, you strengthen your self-respect. You begin to see yourself as dependable, and that belief makes it easier to keep going. Self-trust becomes the engine of consistency, and consistency becomes the engine of your reputation. Think of a craftsman who works in their shop every day, perfecting their skills, making small improvements to their craft. For years, no one notices. There are no headlines, no viral moments, no sudden breakthroughs. But one day, people start to seek them out, not because of something they said, but because their work speaks for itself. That reputation was not built overnight. It was built through countless quiet days of effort that no one applauded in the moment. Consistency also sends a powerful message without you having to say a word. I am committed. People trust commitment because it is rare. In a world where most give up at the first sign of difficulty, the one who stays the course stands out. You become a reference point, someone others can measure themselves against, someone they know will be there tomorrow just as you are today. Even in relationships, consistency is what earns loyalty. It is not the grand gestures that keep trust alive. It is the daily acts of showing up, listening, following through, being there when you say you will. Over time, these small actions accumulate into a powerful truth. This person is dependable. And once that truth is established, it becomes one of your greatest assets. The danger is thinking that reputation can be hacked, that a few well-timed performances or strategic appearances can substitute for years of discipline. You can fool some people for a while, but eventually, inconsistency reveals itself. And when it does, the trust you tried to shortcut crumbles faster than it was built. The good news is, consistency is always within your control. You do not need talent to show up. You do not need permission to keep going. You do not need perfect conditions to take the next step. You just have to decide that what you are building is worth the repetition. And if it is, then every day becomes another opportunity to strengthen your foundation. You may not see the results right away. Others may not notice for a long time, but they will notice eventually. One day, someone will say, "You're always so prepared," or "I can always count on you," or "You never miss a day." And in that moment, you will realize that your reputation has been quietly growing all along. Consistency is not about being perfect. You will have days when you fall short. But what matters is returning to the pattern, not letting one missed step become a reason to stop walking. Perfection is not respected as much as persistence. People admire those who keep going, who recover quickly, who do not let setbacks define them. Ultimately, your reputation is your shadow. It follows you everywhere, whether you want it to or not. And like a shadow, it is shaped by what you consistently do in the light. If you want it to be strong, you must feed it with steady action. If you neglect it, it will fade. So keep showing up. Keep putting in the work, even when no one claps. Keep doing the right thing, even when it feels invisible. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. These words from Marcus Aurelius are more than advice. They are a challenge. A challenge to shift your focus from discussion to demonstration, from theories to living proof. In a world that endlessly talks about virtue, honor, and integrity, the rarest thing you can do is quietly embody them. It is easy to speak about values, easy to post them, debate them, even preach them. But the Stoic understands that virtue has no need for an audience. If you are truly honest, disciplined, courageous, or compassionate, you do not need to announce it. Those qualities will radiate through your actions, in the way you treat people, in the decisions you make, in the consistency of your behavior. The Stoic way rejects the need for validation through words. Because words can be faked. They can be polished, rehearsed, manipulated. But reality cannot be disguised for long. Your habits, your choices, your patterns, these reveal the truth about you. They tell the world who you are without you ever having to open your mouth. When you feel the urge to explain your values, stop and ask yourself, why am I explaining? If your integrity is clear in your actions, others will see it. And if it is not clear, then no speech will make it so. Marcus Aurelius did not urge us to talk about being good. He told us to be good. Not eventually. Not someday. Now, imagine two men in the same room. One spends his time telling everyone how honest he is, how disciplined he is, how strong his principles are. The other says nothing. But when challenges arise, the silent man does not cut corners. He keeps his promises. He faces discomfort without complaint. Over time, which man will earn true respect? Not the one who spoke, but the one who lived it. There is a deep power in restraint, in refusing to seek credit, in letting your actions speak so loudly that no one even needs to ask what you believe. This is not about being invisible. It is about being undeniable. The Stoic understands that every action is a statement. The way you greet a stranger, the way you keep your word, the way you face adversity without collapsing into self-pity. These things leave impressions far deeper than declarations. People may forget what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel and how you behaved under pressure. The modern world rewards noise, endless announcements, self-promotion, personal branding. But the Stoic does not measure worth by volume. He knows that the most valuable people often speak the least about themselves, not because they lack confidence, but because they are busy doing the work that matters. You do not need to convince others of your worth if you live in such a way that your worth is self-evident. This is not arrogance, it is discipline. It is the understanding that proving is harder than proclaiming, but infinitely more valuable. When you announce your virtues, you risk making them performance. You risk shaping your behavior to match what you have said, instead of what is true. But when you live your values without fanfare, they become part of your nature. They are not an act you put on for others. They are who you are, even when no one is watching. This is why the Stoic path can be lonely. There is no instant applause for living well. No guarantee that others will notice your effort right away. Sometimes, your discipline will go unseen, your sacrifices unrecognized. But the Stoic does not live for recognition. He lives for alignment, to ensure that his actions match his principles, whether the world sees them or not. The irony is, when you stop trying to show your values, they become clearer to others. People trust those who act without needing to be seen. They sense the stability, the authenticity, the quiet strength that comes from someone who does not need constant validation. In a world full of noise, silence becomes magnetic. You may be tempted to correct misunderstandings about you, to defend yourself when people question your motives. But a Stoic knows that time will reveal the truth. False impressions fade when reality remains steady. The man who stays true to his principles, even when doubted, eventually earns a reputation that cannot be shaken. To prove, don't announce, is to commit to the long game. It means accepting that real trust is built slowly, through countless small choices that align with your values. It means resisting the urge to argue about who you are, because your actions make the argument for you. This principle also applies to leadership. The most respected leaders are not those who constantly remind their teams of their authority. They are those whose example commands respect naturally. They make decisions with integrity, treat others with fairness, and take responsibility when things go wrong. People follow them not because they talk about being leaders, but because they lead. The same applies in personal relationships. You cannot convince someone you love them by saying, "I love you" 1,000 times while your actions contradict your words. Real care is felt in the way you listen, in the way you show up, in the way you protect what matters to them. Words can enhance love, but only actions can prove it. The Stoic also knows that virtue is not situational. You do not display it only when it benefits you or when it is convenient. You live it when it is hard, when it costs you, when no one will know you did the right thing. That is the truest form of proof, the kind that happens in the dark, long before the light shines on it. Prove, don't announce, does not mean you should be mute in the face of injustice or silent when your voice could help others. It means that your own life should be your primary evidence, that your credibility should not rest on persuasion alone, but on the undeniable consistency of your actions. The ultimate freedom comes when you no longer feel the need to defend who you are. When your life is aligned with your principles, you are free from the exhausting work of convincing others. You can stand in quiet confidence, knowing that what you do will speak for you more honestly than anything you could say. And so, the Stoic way is not about winning debates over what goodness looks like. It is about embodying goodness so clearly that even your enemies cannot deny it. It is about leaving a trail of actions so consistent that no one has to ask what you believe, they already know. Marcus Aurelius's challenge still stands. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Every day. Without announcement. Without performance. Without seeking applause. Let your life be the proof, and your silence be the amplifier. Show your value without saying a word. The right people will see it. The wrong people don't matter. This is the final truth, the one that strips away the noise, the one that sets you free from the exhausting loop of seeking approval. The moment you truly believe this, you stop wasting your life trying to convince people who will never understand you. You stop bending yourself to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You stop explaining to those who have already decided not to listen. You understand that the right eyes will recognize your worth without you pointing to it. You understand that genuine recognition is not something you demand. It's something you earn through the quiet, steady work of becoming who you are meant to be. And you understand that chasing the validation of the wrong people will drain you until there's nothing left for the mission that truly matters. Silence is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is a deliberate act of strength. When you hold back from announcing every move, when you resist the urge to broadcast every effort, you protect your focus. You protect your energy from being scattered by the need to be seen. Let others chase the spotlight. Let them live for applause and quick praise. You will live for something deeper, the satisfaction of knowing that you are building a foundation so solid that it doesn't need to be defended. The quiet builder understands patience. They know that value compounds over time, and that the harvest comes to those who plant in silence. The loud declaration might win attention for a moment, but it is the consistent action, day after day, month after month, that builds something permanent. When you work quietly, you also sharpen your edge. You remove the distraction of external judgment and concentrate fully on the craft. You don't have to think about how your progress looks to others. You only think about how to make it real. This is how excellence is born, not in constant performance, but in hidden hours of disciplined work that no one claps for. The right people, the ones whose respect is worth having, are not fooled by noise. They have seen too many promises, too many speeches, too many projections that led nowhere. They are drawn instead to those whose results speak clearly without a single word. They recognize the quiet power of a person whose actions stand on their own. The wrong people will misjudge you. They may overlook you. They may underestimate you. Let them. Their opinion is not the currency you are building with. Their misunderstanding does not reduce your worth. It only reveals their limits. When you stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, you gain time. Time to create, to train, to study, to refine. You free yourself from the endless cycle of defense and justification, and you redirect that energy toward results so undeniable that no argument can erase them. Think of the great masters, the innovators, the leaders who shaped the world. Very few of them began by shouting their worth from the rooftops. They started in quiet rooms, often in obscurity, doing the work that would later define them. They understood that value is not proven by telling people you have it, but by becoming so exceptional that people can't ignore it. This is not about hiding. It's about choosing where you place your voice. You speak through the finished product, the completed mission, the disciplined life. You let the proof arrive in the form of results so clear that they silence any doubt. The discipline to hold back from constant self-promotion is rare, but it is powerful. In a world of constant broadcasting, restraint stands out. People remember the ones who let their actions do the speaking. They lean in, curious, wondering how someone can command such presence without making noise. And here is the truth. When your value is real, you do not have to beg for it to be noticed. It will surface. It will spread. The right people will find you because value has gravity. It draws those who can recognize and appreciate it. And the wrong people? They will pass you by, chasing the next loudest thing. Let them go. You were never building for them. Every day you have a choice. To spend your energy proving yourself to everyone, or to spend it becoming undeniable to those who matter. Choose the second. The first will leave you exhausted and empty. The second will leave you fulfilled, grounded, and respected in ways words could never achieve. There will be moments when you want to break the silence, when the weight of being misunderstood feels too heavy. Remember this: the longer you hold your ground, the more powerful your eventual proof becomes. The silence becomes a force, a tension that builds until the results drop, and when they do, they speak louder than any speech you could have given. So build quietly. Let the noise belong to others. Keep your head down when necessary, your focus sharp, your pace steady. Because while they are busy talking, you are moving. While they are performing, you are producing. And in the end, results always outlast words. You do not need to announce your arrival. When the work is real, arrival is obvious. Let silence speak. It will say more than you ever could. And when it does, the right people will hear it clearly. The wrong people will never hear it at all. And that's exactly how it should be. Your value is not in how well you declare it. Your value is in how relentlessly you live it. In the way you persist when no one is clapping. In the way you refine your craft when no one is watching. In the way you carry yourself in moments when most would collapse. The loudest statement you will ever make is the life you build. Not the life you talk about building, the one you actually create, piece by piece, day after day. The quiet discipline of becoming who you say you are. This is the legacy worth leaving. Not a trail of speeches, but a trail of proof. Proof that you did not need to shout. Proof that you understood the power of restraint. Proof that you were too focused on the mission to waste time convincing those who could not see. So let silence speak for you. It will tell the truth more clearly than your words ever could. It will reveal your strength without performance, your skill without advertisement, your worth without demand. Build quietly. Let results talk. And when they do, let them be so undeniable that even in silence, they echo forever.